Hey everybody, it's Eddie Joe on Crypto for GrowMyBag.tv. Hope you're having a good one. What's good, what's good, what's good? So no, I did not ask a question today, and I have a good one. Give me one moment so I can ask this of you. This is a really good one. All right. If I knew how to spell, it wouldn't take so long. Let's see. Coinbase. All right. Tonight's question is, who just saw their year over year earnings rise 300%? Coinbase, Goldman Sachs, Kraken, or other. If it's other, drop it in the comments. All right. Again, tonight's question, who just had their earnings rise 300% year over year? Coinbase, Goldman Sachs, or Kraken, or other? If you choose other, put it in the comments. Now, hello, 8paws. Thank you for letting me know that you invested in yourself. That's a great thing. So a lot actually happened today. So 75% of Tesla's stockholders voted, and they voted to give this guy a ridiculous salary. Just interests me because a few people, a few entities had been saying that there wasn't enough in there to kind of lock him into Tesla, lock him out of being political, because the United States is not the only country where he was trying to flex his political muscle. There have been other countries as well. So it's one of those, people don't want him distracted. Yes, he was able to pull off the miracle before, but that's not to say that he's going to be able to pull off the miracle this time. You're talking about 20 million cars sold, 1 million robo taxis on the road, and 1 million robots sold. Yeah, that's going to be a problem. That can it be done? Yeah, I think you could. I think he'd be able to pull those off. He's already sold, as a part of that, he's already sold 8 million cars. That 8 million goes toward his 20. So that's going to be the easiest one that he can do. 1 million robo taxis, highly possible. 1 million robots, I think he can sell 1 million robots just because people are just interested. Different industries might buy the robots, 50,000 here, 100,000 there, just to do things within a factory, literally replacing humans. Yeah, I can see that. I can see that. People are calling it impossible, and I'm kind of like, maybe not so impossible, right? Because they're talking about humanoid robots, and I think that there's more than enough opportunity for that, but there are big questions that come along with it. Economic questions, which is why I'm talking about this. Yo, my man, Rick Ritchie, that's what I'm talking about. Thank you for letting us know that you have absolutely invested in yourself. I just know if I don't make it to the live that I still invested in myself today. Thank you. My inner circle trading class. Okay. All right, cool. So looking at what they're expecting out of him for Tesla, okay, I get it, but he's the head of a couple of companies, right? So they kind of want to lock him into, hey, be focused on Tesla, please. I don't think that's going to happen. It wasn't a part of the paperwork that he received for his salary, so that's not going to happen. It just is 75% of the people voted, and he's going to get it. He is getting it. Will people try to fight that in court? Maybe. But, the last time they went to court over his salary, I was actually, a little bit miffed by it. And the reason why is because, well, if I own the stock for a public company and the people have voted for that, right? Then there's no problem. You voted for a board. That board voted in a certain way. Okay, done. If you don't like that, well, here you go. Public, 75% of the people voted, or 75% of the shares out there were, voted. I would guess that 25% of those shares were mostly held by, smaller holders. 100 here, 100 there, 5 there, 10 there. You know what I mean? So 75% of the stock got voted. Just saying. The reason why I bring this up is because you're talking about 100, I'm talking about 1 million robots. I believe it's 1 million. Even if it was 100,000, that's still a lot of robots. That's still a lot of robots, right? And you already have factories that use robots. Most of the quote unquote employees at an Amazon shop, well, those are robots doing a lot of the work. Very few humans. So I want you to start thinking about, well, if factories are going the way of automatons or robots that are geared for specific tasks, then these humanoid robots, where would they go? Yeah. Specifically where humans would go is what my guess is. So that whole universal income thing, that whole universal healthcare thing in the United States, yeah, you got to start thinking about things like that. How would that affect things? Because you cannot trust these companies these days to make decisions based on we make enough profit. That's not how they operate. And they seem too stupid to realize that, well, if people don't have jobs and people don't have money, what are we doing with these robots? Who's buying them? Only the super duper wealthy, right? And so what does that mean? Now you see where I'm going. It's going to be a massive problem. Massive problem. If he's successful, it's a massive problem. If he's semi-successful, it's a massive problem. And nobody seems to really want to take that on. Nobody's sitting back and saying, I heard one person, and they were talking about how much money the United States gives to Israel. And one of the points that she made was, well, Israel has healthcare for all of its citizens. They're carrying very little debt, especially compared to the United States, and they've got universal healthcare. How are we giving them so much money? That's a political question, but the point is that universal healthcare is happening around the world. That's why so many other countries are kind of like, well, why are you coming here? They're a little bit more, what are you doing? Right? So when I look at the world about to be introduced to robots, humanoid robots, what jobs are they going to take? Think about if you were able to program a robot to do construction. And people are sitting there going, no way. I want you to think about something else. There are a lot of tools that are being used to automate building a building. There are literally machines out there that will print a building. So check everything. You have a robot check everything. And before you sit there and go, oh, there are things that, a robot can't do, I want you to stop and think about what you're about to say. I truly want you to think about what you're about to say. Oh, they can't orchestrate things, together, blah, 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 blah. What do you think they do in these factories? You're just talking about robots that have fine motor skills that can walk like a human. These could have just as easily have been, robots that look like a dog or whatever, which they do have. Anyway, the point is that the introduction of robots is a massive problem, especially when you look at the long list of things that are there that are supposed to make life a little bit easier. AI, automation. Yeah, you see that? And what's funny is you want to sell 1 million robo-taxis, 1 million robots, And in the United States, we still have an energy problem. If those things became successful, you have a global energy problem. That's not little, that's huge. That's huge. Right? And we need to think about that, because when I sit back and I think about that, my consideration is the whole point of this is to make life easier for the human race. How does that make life easier for the human race if we are, in this country, relying on, fossil fuel? You serious? You're killing renewable energy projects and we need energy? How does that make sense in your head? How does that equate to the amount of energy that we need? And then you've got a whole bunch of plans to reinvigorate, nuclear power plants and all these other things. But you're not going to harness wind, and you're not going to harness solar, hydrogen. There are lots of things that we could be doing. Then, on top of that, I also wonder, well, what are they doing in these mega data centers that make a ridiculous amount of noise? Ridiculous amount of noise, right? They take resources, not just energy, but also water, clean water, right? And so when you look at these things, you're kind of like, oh man, we're kind of building toward our own demise. It's not opinion. These are facts. These are facts. Data centers are getting preference over people that own homes for energy and for water. They're not providing energy and pushing it back into the grid to bring energy prices down. They're snatching energy, snatching natural resources, and raising those prices because they're getting a discount. This is what happens when you take your energy and you put it in the hands of private industry. Yeah, a lot of people think, oh, the government controls that. No, they don't. No, they don't. Those are private companies that do not have morals to be able to say, that's enough. They don't do that. Makes you stop and think, right? That's when you start to realize, oh man, we could be walking in the wrong direction. And it's all going to affect our bags. All of it. You put it all together, and now we have to worry about, well, again, what jobs can these robots take? You already have packages being delivered by drones. Less people driving. Those trucks, they can be autonomous. You just have a lot of things. All jokes aside, the golf course that I live near, do you know most of the time people don't use caddies? Most of the time they're using these little robots that follow them around holding their golf clubs. Yeah. Because I don't have to tip a machine. Right? So maybe I just have to pay a little bit to rent the machine, but I don't have to tip a machine, because the average tip at a golf club, I mean, this is years ago, was $100. You had to tip well. Because it would be embarrassing for you not to tip the average, what everybody's tipping. But you see less caddies out there. And you see more robots. And that's when you start to realize, holy moly, that is a robot. It's not a humanoid robot, but it's a robot nonetheless. Car manufacturers, more robots. All that stuff used to be done by hand. Robots now. Dead serious. So you start to realize, holy moly, yeah, we're going to be losing jobs. outlook for jobs is diminishing. My outlook, I don't know about yours, my outlook is that you're going to have more and more people losing jobs. Right now, it's not necessarily to AI, but in the future, it will be to AI and automation, the combination right there. It will be to robots. Look at manufacturing facilities. A lot of them, robots. We're trying to learn in this country how China in that country leverages dark factories because robots don't need lights to operate. Ta-da. We have a lot to consider. We have a lot to consider. That's why I was bringing it up, because it's going to affect your bags. It's absolutely going to affect your bags. Now, here's what's funny. One of the things that popped in my head was, so with all of these robots doing all kinds of different things, those are going to be controlled by large companies. But what about robots that start popping up? People, they throw out robots and people refurbish them and do stuff with them. Hum's House, thank you for letting me know you invest in yourself. And they refurbish them and they bring them back to life. And now they need power. They're running on local AI. They're being repurposed. You start to realize, holy moly, these things can happen. And you go, wow, what's that about? And you start to realize, wow, we're going to have big problems later on. And like I said, nobody's talking about those problems. Nobody's addressing those problems dead on. Nobody at Tesla said, oh, let me stop and think about us selling 1 million robots worldwide. What kind of effect would that have? And let me tell you, it would be a chilling effect. And that's what you start to realize. Like, wow. So right now, every time I tell you, you're going to have to invest to survive. Now you know why. There are a whole bunch of factors that go into it. This is just one of them that make me believe that saving is not going to be enough. Investing is going to be it's going to be the difference between surviving and not surviving. Right? The difference between surviving and not surviving is going to be my ability to invest. Invest in business, invest in stocks, bonds, options, all of it. I'm not saying it's stoppable. It's definitely unstoppable. Chilling effect indeed. Those aren't the problems for me. The problems for me are the fact that companies cannot define enough. I think we're going to have to define enough for them. Two, it brings up big problems with regard to insurance, jobs, healthcare, because there will be less jobs. You're going to have to insure those robots. But just for human beings, I need money to survive. Right? Unless there's some kind of a, you get this much food per year, you get this, that, and the other, and you're not living off of handouts. Those are not handouts. If we're moving toward a world that is like freaking Star Trek, right? But we don't have to worry about making food. We just walk over to this thing and boop, 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 and food is created out of air. It's healthy. It tastes good. It does this. It does that. Blah, 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 blah. Let's just pretend we're moving in that direction. Ever notice on Star Trek, there's no money? Other planets, not this one. Because we figured out how everything is done. Everybody can choose what they want to do that makes them happy. Because we don't have to worry about that anymore. The basic needs of mankind are met. More than met. But I don't think we get there if we can't help businesses, help these large conglomerates, these large companies define enough. There's a mental aspect to having a job as well, in case you didn't know. That feeling of being useful, being needed, right? Achieving goals. So there's that aspect too. Just put that on the side, but there's that aspect too. But when I look at all these things, again, I look at, wow, these things are here now. Robots are here now. And here's something else to contemplate. Do you really think that Tesla's the only company that's going to be selling robots? You serious? No, they're not. Now, how many robots are we talking about? Now, how many robots are we talking about? That's when you start to realize, holy moly, the problems that Eddie's laying out are not down the road. They're now in preparation for what's coming not so far down the road. It's like, what, a few blocks down? You know, relatively speaking, that's a few blocks down. Sorry, a little flying thing. I was trying to get it. And you start to realize, wow, how do we address these problems? How do we get there? How do we fix it before it's actually a problem? How do we steer ourselves in the right direction? Problem. And that's when you start to think, oh man, if we're going to be selling robots, what's going to be affected? What jobs would be affected? How is that going to earn me money? What opportunities pop up? Because I'm pretty sure that these things are coming. Robo-taxis. Here's my thought on robo-taxis. People are like, oh, why are you talking about robo-taxis? That's not going to affect my bag. It is going to affect your bag. All of that is going to affect your bag. Right now, how do you get to rural America? It's tough. You gotta get a car, buy a plane, get a helicopter, or whatever it is, but you gotta do a whole bunch of stuff, right? With a robo-taxi, I can probably get there now. Certain things are within reach. If a robo-taxi has, a range of, 400 miles, and I keep that taxi to within 150 miles or 200 miles, right? You start to realize, you start to go, holy moly, it could make it that far and back. Huh. That means things that were far away are no longer far away. And you start to realize, wow, I don't have to wait for this person to wake up to drive me wherever I can order a taxi. That reach. Remember, I know how I keep saying, we live on a tiny blue marble. It gets tinier. Things get closer. Do I have to own a car at that point? They're already moving you toward not owning your own vehicle. How much cheaper is it to lease a car than it is to buy a car? Lease. That's what they're pitching. It's lower price on leases. And then you give it back and then you're stuck with nothing. You spent all that money. You're stuck with nothing. And what do? You go lease again. Robo-taxis, well, I don't need to own my own vehicle anymore, do I? The world changes. The world changes. And this is what I'm describing when I look at things, when I say I'm looking at the infrastructure, I'm looking at all of this. How is it going to affect my bag? What are opportunities that can pop up? What are the inconveniences that might spur on new businesses? I'm looking that far. And when I say that far, it's not even that far. You're talking about what? Robo-taxis are already operating in certain cities right now. Wow. And you start to realize, holy moly, that's like what? 2 years out before it becomes ubiquitous? There are already semi-trailers, semi-trucks that drive themselves. Believe me when I tell you, the Teamsters are not happy about that because that's going to go away. What do they do for a living? That's not 5 years from now, 10 years from now. No, that's like within the next couple of years, you're going to see more and more and more of those. You're going to see more vehicles on the road that are not driven by a human than you do see ones that are driven by humans. How do we make money from that? How do our lives change with that? Do rural areas become less rural because they're now more accessible? 2 hours from my house, not even 2 hours, what, an hour, 15 minutes tops to get to a rural area from my house. You drive, you get there, when you get out of the car, you're doing all kinds of stretches and stuff to shake off the fatigue from driving. You hop in a robo-taxi or a Waymo or whatever, and you don't have that problem. So going apple picking just became not a big deal, right? You don't take your car, you call a robo-taxi, go up there and you call it and take you back, and you're still awake and alive. We're not just talking about the convenience of everything. Everything will be affected in some form of way. Yes. The question is, how will they be affected? What will I be able to invest in? You want to know what I'm not investing in right now? Banks. Nothing to do with robots or anything else, but just an example of things I'm not investing in because I think they're doing a bad job. Now you're sitting there going, damn, Eddie, it's kind of rough. Is it? Am I really being rough, or am I telling the truth? I'm not going to invest in a bank. They're making bad decisions right now. I'm not going to invest in a bank. It's hard enough for me to put my money in a bank just to pay bills. I'm not going to invest in one. Because I think the current banking model is going to go away. There'll be elements that will travel forward, but they're going to be so dramatically changed that they're not going to quite be the same. Like we had a conversation last night about, how ETFs are not good. I get it. Totally get that perspective. But just because I understand one perspective doesn't mean I don't pay attention to another. And I asked a question during that conversation. I said, so if I can do my investments myself over here using these tools, ETFs, I can get my own stocks, I can do my own fractional stocks, I can do a whole bunch of stuff. I can do my own crypto. I don't need a bank to find me pre-IPO companies to invest in. That market has now opened up. I reported this morning, Charles Schwab is going to buy Forge Global. Direct response to Morgan Stanley buying EquityZen. These are both platforms that offer stocks in companies or investment opportunities in companies that are pre-IPO or aren't going IPO. What do I need a bank for? What does a bank do? Like I said, drastic change is going to be companies allowing themselves to be paid in crypto. Not just stable coins, but crypto. Right? That's going to be a major change. Major change is going to be people are willing to get paid in crypto. People thought Eric Adams was nuts, getting his money in crypto. People thought other, athletes are going nuts because they're getting paid in crypto. Yeah. Now you look at some of those athletes and you're going, damn, that was a smart move. Because they've made millions off of getting paid in crypto. Portion of my salary in crypto, Bitcoin. 10 Bitcoin, $1 million. So you have players that are out there, they got way more than 10 Bitcoin, right? Getting paid in crypto. That's pretty awesome. Mayor of Miami getting paid in crypto, talking about, yeah, my crypto is going up 300%. What? So the world is changing in drastic ways, and everything is connected to everything. And it's up to us to figure it out. Do your own research, know your entries and exits, and absolutely invest deliberately. And Jason Jammin, have you invested in yourself today? Let me see. Have you ever said anything before? Curious. No, it looks like that was your first comment. We have rules. No, it wasn't your first comment. You've been here before. So that means you already know the rules. You know you're supposed to let us know if you've invested in yourself today. Yeah, just saying. But that point was almost perfect, right? Robots do not want to be disassembled. So there are ethics behind this whole robot thing. There's just so much that we're going to have to contend with as we look at these opportunities. And it's amazing. It's amazing. So right now, off the robot thing, right now you've got Kathy Wood saying, yeah, I'm going to have to lower my target on Bitcoin because of the stablecoin craze. She's absolutely right. Everything is going to suffer because everybody wants to do stablecoins because they think they can make money off of having their own stablecoin. That's cute until they realize that's not the way it works. The same way we're going to see meme coins fall off, the same way we're going to see NFTs fall off, the same way that we're going to see, other, crypto projects fall off. Think Cadena, right? They'll be abandoned, otherwise forgotten, not used, all that other good stuff. Millions. The same way we had millions of coins get started, you'll see a bunch of millions of coins just fall by the wayside. The great consolidation. And the great culling. As that starts to thin, the same thing will play out for stablecoins. Oh, we're going to have a stablecoin, or we're going to have a stablecoin. It's like they're freaking Oprah. Everybody's got to have a stablecoin. Except in this case, if nobody's using your stablecoin, come on, chalk it up. Chalk it up. At some point, you've got to come to that realization that your stablecoin means nothing. Now, if MasterCard winds up buying Zero Hash, I can see two things happening that actually make sense to me. They become an exchange like that. Overnight, they're an exchange. A global exchange with global trust, because they've been here that long. Okay? And believe me when I tell you, people probably trust MasterCard far more than they trust Binance. So I would expect them to blow up in a heartbeat. I would expect other exchanges, especially the ones that are not number one, to be like, oh, damn. Coinbase is like, what, number 2 in the world? Or number 3? Something like that. Bybit might be number 1. But I want you to think about how MasterCard is. Wherever there's a MasterCard symbol, you are now a part of that whole fiat to crypto game. And when you figure it out, you'll be a part of the MasterCard crypto exchange game. And then when you figure it out, they'll probably dive straight into DeFi. I mean, because when you use credit, what are you doing? Yeah, see what I'm saying? You see where this is going? MasterCard would be ridiculously positioned. And then while all of that is going on, I would expect MasterCard to come out with their own stablecoin, except they would have a use. I described the same use for PayPal having their stablecoin. We have all these businesses, all these people connected. Makes sense for us to have a stablecoin. It does. It does. And it's been growing, steadily growing. Go look at PayPal. It's been steadily bumping up. La, 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 la. Pretty soon, over time, just because of how it works, the top 10 coins over time could wind up being all stable coins. if the number is 10. I don't know that all of the stable coins will make it that high. I don't know about that. So each one of these little things that I'm telling you about are not so little anymore, are they? I can read off news all day long, right? Kathy was pulling back on her number for Bitcoin because of so much stablecoin traffic. For right now, she's absolutely correct. We're going to have to wait for that pullback in stablecoins, stablecoins to eventually merge and go away. I think that's bound to happen. I think you're bound to see stablecoins that are falling off. Well, they'll be scooped up and added to this coin, and okay, that's it. It'll wind up being something like that. But there's going to be a finite number of stablecoins because not all of them can survive. Ever notice things come in waves? Oh my God, NFTs, altcoins. What was it? Altcoins, then NFTs, then memes. Please. Just saying. You start to realize, wow, things are changing massively. What is a use case for your stablecoin? PayPal has its own network. Makes sense. MasterCard, if that goes through, has their own network. Makes sense. Makes big sense. And because of MasterCard's reach, they could very easily take the number one spot away from Binance. Now, something else to consider is, do you really think Visa is going to snore? American Express might, Discover might, whatever other credit cards are out there might. But do you think Visa is going to snore? They won't. Sooner or later, they're going to do something and it'll be a big thing. And it's the same thing that I would say. So if they do the same move as MasterCard, it's the same opportunity for them that exists for MasterCard. Now I'll be sitting back going, wow, how do I take advantage of that? Well, I invest in MasterCard. I invest in Visa. Invest in Visa now is my thought. Invest in Visa now because when they go do something, they'll pop. I'll be able to make some money. Do I hold them for a long period of time? Maybe. But I'm absolutely going to shave some profit if that's the move that I make. Like, no doubt. Definitely snatching profit off of that. And that's when I sit back and I kind of go, okay, so what else is there? That's why I keep telling everybody, do your own research, know your entries and exits, and absolutely invest deliberately. Holmes House, the GMB 3, practice that. Because then you'll be able to sit here and do the same thing. Be like, well, wait a minute. You could start to play out the possibilities and actually start to go, well, yeah, that's a 2% opportunity. That's a 5% opportunity. This one right here is a 75% opportunity. The chance of this happening is 75%. Okay, maybe that's where I want to go. But knowledge is power, and that first investment is in yourself. And you start with doing your own research. If the dollar collapses, where does that put exactly? And it's not just the dollar. It's not just the dollar. It's fiat. Think of it as fiat. Don't say dollar. Say fiat. Because let me tell you, if the dollar collapses, do you think most of the other coin or most of the other fiat out there is going to survive? Aha. That's when you start to realize, holy crap. Right now, the global economy, I said this last night, right now, the global economy's got to figure out, how do we handle this debt? Do we all come together and we just say, hey, you know what? You can't afford to pay them. They can't afford to pay us. We can't afford to pay all these people. How do you figure out a way to forgive debt? Because that's, frankly, I think that's the only way that this works. I think that's the only way that it works. And really stop and think about it. Well, you got robots and you're doing all these different things. There are ways. It's math. It's math. But yeah, if the dollar collapses, what happens? It won't just be the dollar that collapses. When United States banks started tanking, was it just the United States that was hurt? Not at all. Not at all. That's when you start saying to yourself, oh shit. Excuse my language, but yeah. Now what? What do people value? Some people are going to say precious metals. I'm going to say data. I'm going to say data. Bloomberg, LexisNexis, number one LexisNexis. Bloomberg, Google, Amazon, Meta, to a certain extent, other social media platforms, it's going to be data. And truth be told, it's going to wind up being the breadth of data. Well, everybody's got their first name. Everybody's got their address. Everybody's got their phone number. Who cares? When was the last time they wiped their tushy? Because I need to know if I'm going to be able to sell them some toilet tissue. Sounds funny, but it's not. Sounds funny, but it's not. They tell you all the time that your phone, even though you turn it off, is not actually off. Your television, when you turn it off, is not actually off. And if you have a connected television, that television could actually wind up being calling home. So the only way to turn off that television is to turn off the power to the television. So in my smart home, I've got smart devices on the sockets, on the outlets, and I control those. I control those, and I program them. So I'll be able to say, hey, turn on this particular television, and that means give it power, turn on the television, tune to my channel. Yeah, I'm tired of giving away my data. In my first book, I talk about user sovereignty. Big deal. The debt crisis won't get solved until it hits quadrillions. No, not at all, sir. Not at all. It'll be way before then. Countries go to war over money. They go to war over value. What's valued right now? Precious minerals, rare earths, as they call them. Yeah. Think differently. Think more broad. Debt could be in the quadrillions. That doesn't matter. There's only but so much money on the planet. You have to think about how much money do you owe and how much credit do you owe. Our world runs on credit. I want you to think about this. They've made it almost illegal for, yes, water rights and farmland. That's why all of that is getting bought up. That's right. That's right. Do you want to buy land? Buy land where if you drill down, you're going to hit an aquifer, and now you've got your own water. For real, for real. It's no joke. You got to start thinking differently in this new world. It is a new world. Don't think that it's the same old world that you've been living in. It's a brand new freaking world. When I went on a tirade the other day and I was talking about AI, And everybody's like, oh, well, somebody actually came at me. You're never going to be able to run a local system that's as good as one of these online systems. And I was like, you don't know how AI works. You absolutely can. For normal day-to-day stuff that you're actually going to use it for, you're not trying to solve cancer. Yes, you absolutely can run AI on your own. Training might be different, might be difficult, but you can absolutely run AI on your own. They're selling laptops like that. They're selling small form factor computers like that. So when you look at all these things and you start to add them up and you start to make your list, you start to realize, what are the risks that are out there? Why do I need these big freaking data centers? I don't. They're lying to you. They don't need them. They don't need them. Or they've mistaken themselves in thinking we need that. If you're really into AI, you can go download one of these small little LLMs, and they work very, very, very well. They don't want to tell you that, but they do. When they show you the charts, all the charts point to, you got to spend money to have good AI, and that's a lie. For most people, think greater than 90%, you don't require their AI. Your AI might run a little bit slower, but it's going to run, and it won't be so much electricity. No more, no less than what you're using now. If you have a laptop or desktop computer or whatever. Yeah. Just saying. That's where research comes in. The price of things. I have a vehicle right now. It costs a certain amount of money. With that certain amount of money, I'm expecting things to be built into the car. They're not built into the car. And then because my team is into electronics and technology, I know that they had to spend more money to remove that feature or turn that feature off versus just giving it to me, because it's built into the piece that they ordered, that they just got from China or some other part of the world that makes that particular part. And it's got other features built in, and they just don't connect the other features. I know this because I've seen it. I have a device on my desktop right now, right, that I use to communicate with Bluetooth devices and with, infrared devices. But if you look online, they're selling that device for triple the money for only one thing. It only connects to Bluetooth, or it only connects to infrared. Funny. So this device talks to my phone in Bluetooth and will send an infrared shot over to the television. Yeah, I've automated a lot in my house. A lot. Because it makes things run cheaper. It's better. When I turn off my computer, I'm really turning off my computer. It's off. When I turn off my televisions, they're off. So there are ways that you can identify to make money, but you have to do your own research, know your entries and exits, and absolutely think deliberately, because that's when you start to open up your brain and start to look at things. Yeah, efficiency is a big deal. I need to run my house efficiently. The biggest power consumption devices in my house, refrigerator. Biggest energy waste, gas furnace. Another one, non-electric water heater, traditional gas power water heater. Yep. So I have a few things that I need to upgrade because I'm on solar now. So the less gas I can use, because gas is 100% inefficient. Not 100%, but you get the point. It's inefficient. More gas gets wasted than gets burned. So I've got to fix that. Because efficiency. That's why I look at things and I just go, yeah, I have to start thinking about things differently. I have to start investing in things. So it's not just reading the news and finding out that, crypto stocks are plummeting because they're taking a hit, like Coinbase took a hit, Robinhood took a hit. Not because they didn't do well, but just because things just moved in the wrong direction. For whatever reason, they went down. Something to think about. So yeah, I'm looking at all these things and I'm kind of going, I can do a better job. I can do a much better job. I think I got it. But you have to do your own research, know your entries and exits, and absolutely invest deliberately. It's not just about me delivering news to you. It's what do you do with that news? Do you go off and say, oh, that point that he made about this particular thing, I'm going to go research that because I have interest in it. Maybe I want to buy a stock in that space, or maybe I want to sell a stock in that space. Maybe I want to get a job in that space. Want your kids to make money? Go find a blue collar job. Electrician, HVAC. My little brother does fiber optics. And I'm like, dude, do you know how good you are right now? Like, are you serious? Fiber optics, that's big money. That's where everything's going, fiber optics. Some people go, oh, I got fiber optics in my house. Yeah, probably to your cable box. But are you running your network on fiber optics? Probably not. Probably not. That's going to be a burgeoning space. Because sooner or later, it's going to be easy to run fiber optics in your house. Thin little glass wires that pass data that will be easier to work with than Cat5 cables. Hide them anywhere. Hell, some of these fiber optics, you could leave them out and nobody would even notice. Yeah. That's what I'm talking about. So yeah, there are opportunities and we've got to pay attention to those opportunities. The world is changing right in front of our eyes. It's giving us the opportunity to recognize those changes, capitalize on those changes, and realize profits, realize wins. By the way, I have invested in Aster again because I know my order just went through for $1. Now I got to see, is it going to drop below $1 or if it's going to go up again? I'm hoping it goes up again because I got in at $1. Yeesh. Just giving you an example about how I'm playing volatility. Just saying. If I can do it 10 times, I've doubled my money, right? 10 times at 10%, I've doubled my money. I've done it at 20%. I've done it at 10%. Earlier this year, I'm probably beyond the 10 right now. I'd have to go back and look at my records, but I'm probably beyond the 10 that would give me double my money. Sometimes it's small little wins. Small little wins. I take $100, I make 10%. Now I've got 110. I take the 110, I make 10%. I've got 121. See how that math works? And you just keep going. Nothing is for sure, but sometimes you can see it coming. Sometimes you can see it coming. Things don't go down and down. Most of the time, things don't go down in a straight line, and they don't move across in a straight line. If you're paying attention to the tea leaves, sometimes you can pick out opportunities where you can win. It might not be day to day like I've been experiencing with Aster, but it could wind up being good numbers anyway. 10% is 10% no matter where the money is, whether that particular coin is $100, $1,000, $1 million. 10% is 10%. Am I going to make, I would need, for me to make 10% off of, let's say Bitcoin, I need Bitcoin to go from 101 to 111. 111, 100 is what I'd need it to get to right now based on these numbers. Do I think it's going to do that in a day the way Aster could do that in a day? No. Straight. The answer is no. So what am I going to do? I'm going to find coins that offer me enough volatility and a higher level of predictability to be able to make that happen. And it takes work. It takes paying attention to certain things. And frankly, I feel that I was late on Aster, so I feel like Aster owes me. It owes me the opportunity to make it up. Just saying. I'm laughing about it, but I was late on Aster. I was late on Ondo. I was late on Ton. Remember Bianca? Yeah, she's the reason why I finally bought Ton. I finally stopped and got over myself and did the research and said, oh man, I need to get in on that. And right now, all of them, everything is down. I'm still profitable, but I'm down. I'm not as profitable as I was. So what's my game plan? My game plan is not money, it's value. How am I playing that 10%? Every time I grow that 10% in value, I can get back in and actually exercise value, because right here, I'm taking profit. Down here, I'm buying value. I was able to buy 100. I sold. I was able to buy 110. Have that 110. I was able to sell, right? 10%. I'm able to buy 121. Hopefully each step I'm increasing my value. So when the market finally does go up, I've got more value. That's the game that I'm playing right now with my trading wallets. And I can't do it with all the coins because my tiny little pea brain can't keep up with all the coins. And I do not feel like writing another app that's going to give me a point of here's where you could buy, here's where you could sell, ding, 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 ding. No, I don't feel like going through all that. I like having my finger on the pulse on a couple of coins and being able to rock and roll. I mean, I do have apps that will do that, but I tend to like doing it manually for now. When I get big, then I'll use an app. It'll give me all the ding, ding, dings, and I'll be able to go buy whatever it is I want to buy, how I want to buy it, all that good stuff. But that's what I'm paying attention to. Anyway, everybody, this is Eddie J on Crypto for Grow My Bag. Whoa, wait a minute. Sorry about that. Let me rewind. Who just had their earnings rise 300%? Coinbase, Goldman Sachs, Kraken, or other? I cannot believe nobody chose other. I am flabbergasted. Why? Because Robinhood reported a 300% year-over-year surge in crypto revenue, $268 million, and doubled overall revenue to $1.27 billion in October. Ta-da! And they're still thinking about, should we do the whole corporate treasury thing with Bitcoin? I'm hoping not. But yeah, that's how that went. So yeah, it was actually Robinhood. Anyway, everybody, this is Eddie J on Crypto for GrowMyBag.tv. I hope you enjoy what I'm doing. If you do me a favor, smash the likes, tell your friends about us, and if you can, become subscribe to the channel, but definitely become a member. I know I did not get the invites out, but you all know that the Big Bagger private video conference is happening Sunday at 1 p.m. and it'll only be Big Baggers. So I hope all of you hop on the call. And you hop on the call by becoming a Big Bagger, and then you'll get the private invitation that, no, I know I didn't get it out today, but I'll get it out tomorrow. I'm tired. I'm going to go to bed. But that's what'll happen. And everybody that's a Big Bagger will get it. Everybody, thank you for your time. Thank you for your patience. And absolutely thank you for your trust. I'm trying to share with my kids what my thought process is. And you guys get the benefit of hearing what I'm trying to share with my kids. And I get the benefit of hearing what you continuously share with me. Whether you're wrong, whether you're right, that's not the point. The point is that you're willing to share so that we can all grow our bags. That's what makes this a community. So everybody, thank you. Truly, thank you. Have a great night. See you tomorrow morning, 6:30 a.m. for the Crypto Daily. Have a good one, everybody. Bye-bye.